Howdy everybody, it's me, Manic coming to you from the bunker system. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. It's unbelievable, isn't it? That it's 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm doing this. I'm doing a video. That's what's unbelievable. Okay. It's got some records today, and I was trying to come up with something to complain about. I just complained about something, didn't I? That I should be doing something else. So I did complain about something. I didn't think I had anything to complain about. What I've been interested in lately is pulp art from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Are any of you guys out there comic book collectors? Because I was in the 70s, like the very late 60s into the 70s, and so I felt really connected to comic book art all my whole life, except after this. I didn't get into the graphic novel thing. I didn't know anything after 1975. 75. That'd be about it. That's the end of it. But I felt connected to that period from the late 60s into the mid 70s. Jack Kirby especially, always liked his artwork. And look, his art has proved itself to be dynamic, because his characters, many of his characters, his major characters, have been turned into movies. And done well as movies. Even a person my age enjoys the modern comic book movies based on his characters. I think they're well done. Anyway, and DC, Batman, that's pretty good stuff there too. But DC, when I was, growing up in the mid-70s, you didn't buy DC comic books. I'm sure somebody did. And I'm sure there were some titles. But for me, it was like, what, the Green Lantern? I didn't even see that movie. But as a kid, it was like the Green Lantern. I was like, what? It's a guy dressed up in a green suit. I didn't get it. I apologize for anybody that, was like, I just know, it's just like, how do you connect with things? That's the whole point of this conversation. It's not that there's anything right or wrong. It's just what is your environment like when you grow up, and how do you connect to things, and why do you connect to things? And what's interesting about the conversation that you can have with yourself over different things, but this is my video, so this is my conversation, is that I've been looking at these pulp covers, which I knew existed and found interesting, but I kind of really got into them recently, okay? So the one everybody knows is like What Amazing Stories. I think there's DVDs out that you can get. There's multiple, I can't think of the word. I cut it out because I can't think of the word, and I still can't think of the word. Science fiction and crime, detective crime, not so much horror. Well, and then there's like The Shadow and Doc Savage. There's some long-running series, along with others, different kinds of science fiction titles. And it's interesting that with the art is, the painting on the cover is great. They're amazing paintings, which apparently were done at the time, by, I don't know, like classically trained artists. Some not. I shouldn't say that, but artists that wanted to do more with their lives. But isn't that the case, that when you do whatever you're doing, usually you're not doing it to the higher plateau where you're like expanding and creating, and you're doing something that's maybe that you're good at, that's in your comfort zone, but not as fulfilling. And I don't think the story is that many of these artists weren't fulfilled. I can't imagine that would be the case with all of them. Some of them must have been very excited about what they were doing, but the story is that they didn't care, and nobody cared about the art, and the art was thrown away, which is why today that original artwork from pulp magazines is highly coveted and very expensive to obtain, if you can find it at all. That's just what I understand. But for me now, I'm looking at this artwork and seeing how inventive it is. The content of the art, the content is inventive, the art is inventive, and the printing is amazing. You don't see printing like that anymore. What kind of inks did the printers use to get those dynamic, solid, dynamic color, and that separation in the color, from like blacks to purples? And there must have been fluorescent, like carcinogens, in the inks. They were great inks, blended with gold and silver. I don't know how they did it, but the collars really snap. So and when I would, oh, the other thing I wanted to, okay, this is going to be a long video again. When Frazetta, remember Frank Frazetta? Of course you remember that. He broke out. He was a great, actually he was a great comic book artist. I needed to back, no, not in America, okay. There you go, back to Frank Frazetta. He was a great comic book artist, but then black and white, you know, like line work, okay, which probably not as many people know about, but they would recognize his cover art. So he broke out, made a name for himself doing covers for Conan, the series. Again, I don't have a book in front of me to verify all this. This is just from memory. But I read all those books. I bought them because the covers were amazing. Okay, I loved his artwork. The covers were amazing. But the point is, I liked reading the pulps. These were reprints from pulp magazines. Robert E. Howard. Yeah. Did he write the Avengers? The Avenger 2, the guy with the white hair? I got all those books too. Doc Savage. And I bought all those books too when I was a kid. I read all of them. All right. Consumed them with glee. Anyway, okay, so I would have been a pulp buyer had I been buying, you know, been younger, you know, and been in that, but they weren't around when all I had was comic books. So I got attached. This is the thing, in my environment, what you grow up with, you become used to and you become attached to, which always isn't a good thing. And I'm not going to go into the other things that you can become attached to that you never mind, I'm going on and on and on. Oh my God. So the point is that pulps are, I no longer have that attachment to comic books because now I'm looking at these pulps and I'm like, this is better. So so I'm thinking like the guys doing comic books came from that environment of pulp magazines and started to do this art, which they were you know, I read about Jack Kirby's life, but just like trying to make money and bang out. They were just banging out art. But I wonder if many of them thought that comic books were like very much a substandard product compared to pulp magazines, or did they separate pulps, which they may have considered to be more of an adult medium? But it can't, because there was EC and there were problems with comic books and kids were reading stuff and the parents went crazy and the PTA got into it. I don't know whatever happened, and they had to like oppress comic books and clean them up, you know, because they were you know, including content that was quote unquote inappropriate for kids. Although, you know, as a kid, if I say that you were influenced by your environment, then you'd have to be influenced by it, I guess. You know, I don't know. I'm not going to cut all this out. Because it's too deep. I'm going to go right to the records. How long have I been going on? 8 frickin' minutes. Let's go to the records. There's some interesting records. Today, I had time to stop at St. Vincent de Paul. So I'm just going to go right into it. Pete Kelly Blues. Pete Kelly Blues from 1955 on RCA. Pete Kelly and his Big Seven. Is this the original? Jack Webb does some narration. Oh, the only other story I've got is I took the stack of records up to check out, and there was this younger woman in her 30s working at the counter, and she said, pointed to this album, said, isn't this guy from, and I said, Dragnet? She said, yeah. It was really funny. That, I don't know how, you know, that was just a moment, like this young person's like, anyway, go on, okay. So I don't know if this is the original. Is this the original thing? I have no idea. I'm going on and on and on about that. I had to save this, 50 cents, another copy of Taste of Honey. I saved it. Great one of, there's 2 albums in this series, A Taste of Honey, Another Taste of Honey, Martin Denny. Great later stuff from him, sort of jazzy, more jazzy lounge stuff. A private press or a small label out of Idaho, American Heritage Music Corporation, some bluegrass guitarist, pretty much private press, I don't know. Did you see it? There he is. Bob Beckham. No idea. Did I have this album once before? It's like some kind of local TV station guy. Bob, what? Oh, he got out of the paratroopers. When? It doesn't say. Anyway, then he went on, I don't know, he probably only made this one record. Who knows? I have no idea. He's got nice blue eyes, Bob Beckham. Look at his eyes are nice and blue. Bob McCuins? Never bought one of the records up. It's on Liberty though, so I had to pick it up. I have no idea what to expect from that. This was kind of fun. This could be fun. Jazz funeral music from New Orleans, George Lewis. 1953, recorded in 1953. Wasn't released in 53. It's a much later record, but anyway. Larry Clinton, another record I haven't seen before. Larry Clinton, I picked it up. Helen Ward. There must be some singing on it by Helen Ward, but one of the song titles is Studying Surrealism, so that record could be good. Lovers in Paris. Mon I.A. Liter? Some French guy. But their song titles I don't like. Sheba, Flying Carpet, Blue Fandango. Some interesting song titles. Nice cover. The D's Trio, out of Columbus, Ohio. Gospel. There they are on the back. Don't know if I've got that one. Swinging at the Country Club on a budget label. Who is it? Swinging at the Country Club. It's Chet Grayson and the Country Clubbers. Interesting cover on RCA's budget label, Candom. Mood music featuring compositions and arrangements of Domenico Savino. Puppet, Dance Puppet Dance. What a Holiday for Strings. That's a great song. This was interesting. This is a jacket blank with a greeting card pasted on the front. And this green line looks like it was done with magic marker, okay? So it's a homemade cover, right? That's fun in itself. The title of the record is Love Songs. The artist's name is Betty Jane Durstock. And it's, it's probably going to be, no? There's got to be some singing. It's a religious record, okay? Some woman singing with an organist backing her up. Just curiosity. Fred Burnett. There's a cover of Yesterday, I think the Beatles song Yesterday on here. Probably done on the steel drum. Make Mine Manhattan, D. Ortega? D. Ortega? Ooh, Dagger Dance. Dagger Dance. Fire and Ice Ballet, Part 1, 2, and 3. I don't know. That could be interesting. The Johnny Mann Singers. Oh my God. You picked up another Johnny Mann Singers. Why? Well, they do a cover of Goldfinger. Okay? That's why. And Downtown. Just because it was there, the record jacket's pretty trashed, but the record looks really clean. Billy Strange and the Challengers. Apparently somebody wrote all the back of it. It was a radio station copy at one time, and the cover is messed up. It's not the same as whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And last and not least, just because it happened to be on the bottom of the stack, it's a nice cover by on this Art Van Dam quintet. I don't think I've caught this one, but I'm not sure. Anyway, that's him. I went on and on and on. I had to chop it up because it was just incredible how I went on and on and on. And that's the end of it. It's 7 o'clock. They said it was 7 o'clock. And I'm doing this thing, and it's 15 minutes of video. You got anything else? No. My head's getting stopped up. That's the last thing I got to say, is my head's now stopping up with stuff that stops up your sinuses and crap. Oh my God.